task to walk out in life. And we're going to talk about financial storms today. We're going to talk about physical storms today. But there's nothing like a financial storm to destroy a relationship. I mean, it will just erode the foundation of love, you know. It's hard to kind of have romance without what? Finance. Oh boy, y'all got something. So it's just a difficult proposition. And so I want to open up your minds and I want to open up your spirits. I don't want you to necessarily go back to college. And I don't want you to necessarily, God may tell you to do this, but I want you to, I'm not saying go and look for a new job and things of that nature. But God will bless you right where you are. And I just want you to understand that. Right where you are, doing right what you're doing, He'll just open up blessings for you right where you are. And one of the worst things we can do is try to figure out how in our circumstance God can bless us. Well, you know, He could have somebody give me some money. You know, my cousin got that money back. Maybe he could give me some money. You know, I could sell the car. You know, you're going to come up with about 11, 12 things, then you're going to run out. 11, 12. Yeah, that's it. But God has so many infinite ways, infinite pathways to deposit the free flow of economics and finances in your life. And so I just want you to get in tune with the principle so that you can connect with the promise, okay? All right, so on this giving, we talked about give, comma, and then the rest of it is a promise. But one thing I want you to know is God is going to give you a good measure. And one of the things I want you to know about measurements is God is consistent. When you give an inconsistent measure, He'll give you right back an inconsistent measure. But when you give Him a good measure, see, when it says a good measure, it's talking about your best. You know, what was the difference between Cain and Abel? Both of them gave a gift. And it's in the eye of the beholder. And in this case, it was God who decided which gift was better. If I gave you my belt or my jacket, which one is nicer? Which one would you enjoy? Somebody said the jacket, somebody said the belt. All right, but we're at two different points of view, right? But if in my heart, my jacket is my best, and my belt is not even close. In my heart, which gift should I give?
The jacket.
I should give my jacket. And so I want you to understand that God looks at your heart and He's paying attention to your measure of how you give. I just want you to get this in your spirit. One area that God taught me a long time ago that I really operate in is this area of seed time and harvest. This area of planting and harvesting. It's just kind of a code, a spirit in which I live by. And so I want you to understand measurements. When you do not have enough, that's called a seed. When you have more than enough, then that's called bringing in your
Harvest.
Your harvest. And so sometimes we don't know what to do when we don't have enough. We just don't know what to do. You plant. Get in the spirit of planting. Get in the spirit of planting in your children. Get in the spirit of planting in your life. Getting in the spirit of planting in the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual work of God. See, it goes far beyond tithing and giving in your church. Certainly it starts there. But it goes so far beyond that. And God is developing a nation of givers. I want you to get this deep down in your spirit. Now, sometimes it's a little hard to have this conversation about giving and how you can change the world with giving just a little bit when you don't have. It's a little hard to have that conversation. It's like you're having a rich man conversation with poor folk, if you will. Am I right? Sometimes it can feel that way. Am I right or wrong?
All right.
But it's not about that, because it's about seed time and harvest. It's all about planting. And I want you to get that deep in your spirit. You have something to plant. And that's how I want you to look at it. But I don't want you to look at simply the dollar amount. I want you to look at the measure. See, $5 can break the bank of poverty in your life. $150 can keep you in poverty. Well, what's the difference? It's your measure. And your measure deals with your heart. And then if you can't eat the seed, because then that's all you have. You have to plant the seed. And so we have this economic principle. You know, there's an old joke, and I'll try to clean up as best I can. They say if you take money and you give it to a certain group of folk, and a few months later, the people who had it, they're going to have it again. Because there's some individuals that have a mindset of spending, never planning, never saving. We just have this mindset of it's harvest time. It's harvest time. Boy, they got a party over there. Let me go. Them new J's out. Let me get them. Boy, they can change the headlights on that car. Let me go get a new one. And so we just spend and spend and spend and spend and spend, and we don't understand the principle of seed time and harvest. And then guess what we do with our children? We develop them up to become spenders. How many people do you know that are 20 or 21 with $20 and $25,000 in the bank? Huh? What about 30? Because you want your children. It's fine that you didn't get there. It's okay. We can't do anything about that. Am I right or wrong? Right. But we can sure do something about our children. Yep. And we can plant such the spirit of seed time and harvest in their lives and helping them understand this teaching on measure. And measures dealing with your heart. And man, you'll see blessings unlocked. I challenge every parent in here to give your child some paper money every time they go to church. I don't care where they go to service. Whether they come here, whether they go 7 days a week, that's $7. Give them, put them in the habit of that. Put them in the spirit of that, of taking $1, put it in the envelope. You want to really unlock something? We have some extra, I think. Take them home. Take 4 of them home for each one of your children. Before they come to service, allow them to make that choice. Allow them to make that decision to what? Put money in church? See, that's the wrong spirit. No. To plant a seed in the kingdom of God. This principle of seed time and harvest. And here you are setting your children up to receive a harvest inflow of God in their lives. But the greatest thing that they're getting a way of economic growth as it pertains to the spirit and kingdom of God. They're understanding seed time and harvest. So I encourage everyone to do that. The second thing, if you're an adult, especially if you're a working adult, I want you to understand how the envelope works. Just so we all are taught and educated and developed. Why? So that I can track it better? No. So that you can see where you are on the scale of measure. So that you can see how you're growing. We are where we are, right or wrong. But we have the ability each day to get to that next level in God. And as you reach that next level, you're going to start to see harvest time in your life. And I know it may sound like, come on, preacher. Come on, man. I don't know about that. Over there at Malachi 3:10, God says, test me then. He said, try me out. You think I'm wrong? Try me out. Why don't you try to give? So I want everyone to get in the habit of putting your name on here if you have an offering. It just as a general housekeeping deal, you wouldn't put Larry and Sally. You would put Larry, because that's Larry's blessing. Right? And then you're going to put Sally. And that's Sally's blessing. And there's going to be a double blessing flowing in your household. So you want to get in the habit of doing that, because we're all responsible for our own soul what? Salvation. And so get in that spirit. And I'll be honest with you. I want you to see this giving process is deeply personal. I really do want you to see it as that. And I don't mean simply giving in the church. Giving, period. I want you to see it as deeply personal. I thank God my wife and I are givers. We really are. We're givers. And there are times when I give and she said, now wait a minute. There are times when she gives And I say, wait a minute. But you know why we always say, wait a minute? Because sometimes it's not a good investment. Sometimes you just give it and you're not planting. And you don't give if you're not planting seed. And if you don't have true harvest time in your life, you sure don't need to give. Because you don't have harvest time in your life yet. You're not the billionaire that can just give away $100 million, right or wrong. And so, but you have a seed to plant. And you want to make sure that you're planting seeds. That was a time my wife used to buy a whole lot of that old David Yurman jewelry. She had a whole setup with the ring, the earrings, the ring, and I don't know if it was a bracelet or a watch, but anyway. And one of her relatives liked it and talked about it so much. And she, you know what she did? She took it all off. The ring, couple $1,000. The ring, couple $1,000. The bracelet, anyway, you see how the money go. And gave it away. I said, no, wait a minute now. I ain't sure the Lord said do that. But my principle was, because I wasn't sure if it was a seed.
Yeah.
If you were depositing that in the right person. Because if it's not a seed, you're wasting it. If it's not a right investment. And so the measure is very, very important. I want you to see, it has nothing to do with your amount. It has everything to do with motive. It has everything to do with measure. It has everything to do with the soil that you're planting in. It has everything to do with the caregiver whereupon you're planting. No need to plant the seeds in the earth. Nobody's going to take care of it. So I just want you to be conscious of that. Everything you do. When you go to McDonald's, what you doing? Harvest time and seed time. Think about it. There's a little restaurant somewhere. They don't have any customers today. They may not have the best food. It's just kind of all right. Do you know how big it is if you go eat there? It's just, you're going to eat anyway and you're going to pay. But do you see even how going out, eating a meal, you can plant a seed at the right restaurant? Man, I'm going to bring you some customers. You are? I'm going to see if we get the whole church over there. You are? And so there's so many different ways for you to plant. And I really want you to get this seed time and harvest. And I could, and I will in the next coming weeks, but I can tell you so many stories on how, man, God just, He pop it, man, he just do it. So you just let it go, let it fly. He's gonna do it for you. But you gotta trust Him. And I'm not gonna guarantee you that you do it, it's not gonna look ugly and you're gonna say, now what in the world I did that for? Man. So I'm not going to tell you you're not going to have that initial feeling. But I can assure you, you cannot outgive God. And as you give God, what happens is He keeps giving back into you. Then you give, and then He gives back to you. You give, and He keeps giving back to you. And what happens is, then it gets to the point where what? It starts to overflow in your life. You got to fill up before what? Overflow. And so every time God give you some, that doesn't mean give it away. See, sometimes you have to say, no, I don't have no problem saying, People say, you got it. I mean, it ain't about whether I got it or not. No. That's not a worthy investment for me. Don't count my money whether I got it or not. That's not important. I love you all the same. But God might have me in a season in a certain area where He need to fill me up before He can what? Overflow it. And so sometimes we give away all we have a little too soon. And just have to say no. So anyway, I want to get off that point there. I hope, am I helping you? Am I hurting you or what? All right. So we understand we want to put everybody in our household as God moves upon. You want to give them one of these. You want to try to move your children, if that's your measure, put $1 in. Try. But the next thing I want to teach you about the tithe, the offering, and the other. The tithe